In this section, we shall quickly look at what methods are all about. Now, in JavaScript, there's a concept called object, and an object can be a string object or a string literal. For example, name, let's say Victor, and we can log it. However, what if I don't want my name to be in a lowercase later? What can I do? I mean, alternatively, I could just rename this to all caps and do something with it. Or if I have time, I can keep doing this for 1,000 more names. But we all know that sometimes we need ways to do these things much quickly and in a more generic way. And JavaScript offers something for that. We use what we call methods, and we can use the toUpperCase method to transform my lowercase name into an uppercase name. We might have perhaps an array or a collection of names such as Angie, Victor, Emily, Tom, Richard, and so on. They are, after all, a bunch of names. And we could loop through this while printing out capital letters or equivalents of these names. So let's take a look at where we might get such help. The best kind of help can be found in the Mozilla Developer Network, that is developer.mozilla.org/en-us docs web reference JavaScript blah blah blah. This is something you'll find in the show notes as you walk through. And of interest, we can scroll and look for things to do with strings or building objects such as the string itself. When you click string, and we'll notice a bunch of things here. So the string global object is a constructor of strings or a sequence of characters, and they could be in all sorts of languages, like you can see here. On the side here, you'll see properties and you'll see methods. Properties are some of the common ways we can interact with a bunch of things. Now let's take a look at the length property. The length property is a way that it represents the length or the size of the string. And you could use the length property to ensure that passwords match a particular size. So let's quickly take a look at a password example and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And perhaps that password is within or is at least 8 characters. Now we could have a condition where we ask the user, or we test this size and figure out whether it's a particular length before we actually allow the user to log in or something. It could be used for validation as well. And let's go back to our previous example where we have a list of names, and let's copy that and put that in. We're going to get rid of this and we'll put that in here, and I'm going to show you how to use a loop. A loop is a way we go through a sequence or collection of objects, and we shall use something called a for loop. We'll create a quick holder of values, and we'll use the length property. So as long as the length or I is less than the length of the properties, I can be able to loop. And then this is a small incrementer to increment every value of this loop. So we kind of go once, so we start at 0 and we keep increasing. You'll see that eventually. So what we shall do now is we shall quickly log the names of the ith number. Arrays are interesting. You can use an index notation to pick up an array's value. So assuming A is an array and index is a number of items or of the particular item. So in this case, Angie is in the position 0, Victor is in position 1, Emily is in position 2, Tom is in position 3, and for Richard. All counting starts at 0, and that's how we count variables here. And let's refresh and see what happens. When we refresh, you'll notice in our developer console that Angie, Victor, Emily were printed out. However, I might want to make them uppercase, so I'll put my mouse over here and just say to uppercase and use parentheses. Parentheses basically declare that this is a method, and a method is something that gets executed. So when we refresh our page, you'll notice that the names are now capitalized. I might want to do something interesting, such as perhaps appending another string. So something like length is, then get that very name, get its I, and say length. And when I refresh the page, I can tell that Angie is or has 5 characters, Victor has 6 characters, Emily has 5 characters, Tom has 3 characters, and Richard has 7 characters. And there you are, ways of working with methods. I'll encourage you to always visit the Mozilla Developer Foundation's documentation just to take a look. You'll notice that a lot of these methods here have prototypes in them, or the word prototype, but you should treat these as whatever object it is, dot local compare, for example. Or let's take a look at the prototype chart. You would need a string. You wouldn't need to type all this out. So let's take a look. We might want to get one of the names, say Angie, and let's store that name in its own variable, and let's work with that. So char_art allows us to know what character is at a position of the string. Again, you can notice that Angie, the thing at the 0th position of Angie is an A. When you try to get the char at, say, 1, you'll see there's an N. When you try to get a char 2, we'll see G, char 3, I, char 4, we'll get an E. That's the way we use some of these methods. Forget about the prototype. That's something we should look at eventually. However, when you want to work with these methods, you will have to use that object, that string, dot, whatever method you want to use. Some of these methods take in arguments or values of some kind of input. For example, the slice method. The slice method is an interesting one. And this one starts cutting off the string at position 4. So 0, 1, 2, 4. Spaces are also counted and returns something for you. Alrighty. Thank you for learning about this. You've learned how to access information, where to read it, and where to find more things about the stuff you do. Thank you.